pride, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, 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 remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Parliament TV, a station that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. As it is, business cannot commence on the floor of the House. This is due to the fact that quorum had not yet been constituted. So once quorum is constituted, indeed business will commence. But if you've just tuned in, we're saying thank you very much to you, and we do appreciate your listenership. Thank you very much for choosing Parliament TV, the station that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. You can catch us on channel 272, that's on GoTV platform. You can also watch Parliament TV on GoTV, that is channel 28, not forgetting Top Star, which is shows Parliament TV on channel 5. And you can also get a lot of information on Parliament from our website, www.parliament.gov.zm, not forgetting our National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page and National Assembly of Zambia YouTube channel. So those are some of the platforms on which you can follow parliamentary proceedings. So just to mention that before we did listen to the national anthem and the prayer, we were just giving a summary of the business the House is expected to consider.
Please remind the members that have asked for credentials, login credentials to log in, because we don't have quorum to start business.
Okay, so yes, indeed, we do expect business to commence when a quorum is constituted. Taza, maybe we just give out more information on the things that are expected to consider on the floor of the House.
Yes, indeed, Muta, we were giving an update, so we do continue giving an update on the business that we expect the House to consider this afternoon. We were talking about the two motions that we expect the House to consider this afternoon, and of course, I did mention earlier on that Mr. Twamom Tintao is a Teji Member of Parliament, and he's the chairperson of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs. Will move a motion urging that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026, and Mr. Muvika Shangombo, Member of Parliament and Chairperson of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply, will also move a motion urging that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026.
And also, we did mention earlier on that we do expect to have some grouped questions for oral answer, and these are provided for under Standing Order number 83. So with the grouped questions, basically these questions are similar and indeed directed to a particular minister, so that ministers responds to the three of them at the same time. So once a quorum is indeed constituted, we do expect a business in the House to commence.
Honorable members, I have 3 announcements to make. The first announcement, honorable members, I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of the following members of Parliament and staff from the Parliament of Kenya and accompanied by staff from the Kenya High Commission. Honorable Bernard Shinali, MP, Head of Delegation. Honorable Samuel Sakimba, MP. Honorable Timothy Torochi, MP. Honorable Fatuma Masito, MP. Honorable Joyce Kamene, MP. Honorable Miss Pauline Sifuma, Clerk. Mr. Akan Mumin, Clerk. Ambassador Grace Okara, Deputy Head of Mission, Kenya High Commission. And Ms. Sophia Machuki, Second Councillor, Kenya High Commission. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our distinguished guests in our midst. I thank you. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of members from Citizens for Democratic Governance in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The last announcement, honorable members, I wish to inform the House that the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the National Assembly Powers, Privileges and Immunities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2026, and the Parliamentary Code of Conduct Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2026, will conduct its sittings on Friday, 24th, Monday, 27th, Tuesday, 28th, to Wednesday, 29th April 2026. Accordingly, honorable members who wish to submit memoranda or appear before the committee are encouraged to do so within the scheduled period of the committee's sitting. I thank you. So, honorable members, there is an opportunity. Instead of making submissions on social media, please appear before the committee so that we can benefit, or the committee can benefit from your input. Urgent matters without notice. The honorable member from Ghana has just walked in, so I will skip him. The honorable member for Chairman North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. My urgent matter without notice is directed to the Minister of Agriculture. Madam Speaker, following the lifting on the ban on export of maize, rural areas have seen an unprecedented influx of briefcase buyers who are actually offering our hardworking farmers very exploitative prices, of course taking advantage that the Food Reserve Agency goes into the market quite very late. Madam Speaker, these briefcase buyers, of course, are taking advantage of lucrative export market and offering as low as 100 kwacha, 50 kg bag of maize, taking advantage of the vulnerability of our farmers. Madam Speaker, we are alive to the fact that small-scale farmers contribute about 80% to the national food security. And if this trend is not arrested, Madam Speaker, the country may face national food security, especially that the borders now have been opened. I thought it was prudent for the Minister of Agriculture to come to this August House and advise these farmers and what measures government is taking to protect these small-scale farmers. Otherwise, we risk having a shortage of food in this country. So I seek your serious indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Chairman North. I suggest you put in a question, as the matter raised does not meet the criteria to be admitted as an urgent matter without notice. So the matter is not admitted. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter I wish to raise is directed to the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Local Government and Housing.
You may proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Projects, students haven't been paid through CDF because the money which is supposed to be given to Lundazi constituency and many other constituencies, all of them, in fact, has not been released up to now. Madam Speaker, the people who are doing the works in the constituencies have stopped because the Minister of Finance is failing to pay and give the councils the money. Our students are starving where they have gone in schools where they are getting skills. Madam Speaker, we do not want our students to run amok and claim that they are failing to feed, and yet the Minister of Finance had been always assuring that CDF is a priority and the money would be released on time. Madam Speaker, as I'm talking right now, the students in Luansha, at Luansha Trades, coming from Lundazi, have been suffering. They don't have food and they are calling all the time. Madam Speaker, what is happening that the money which is supposed to be released on time and much publicized is not being released, the so-called CDF. Madam Speaker, I came so that I can seek your indulgence so that the Minister of Finance can release the monies for the people in Lundazi and many other constituencies who haven't received. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Lundazi. Again, it's important. It's an important issue. The issue of release of funds from CDF. There have been complaints that there's been a delay. But what we can do, Honorable Members, let's engage the respective ministers so that the money is released as soon as possible, so that the students are not left or exposed. So please, Honorable Cabinet Ministers, do take note of the concerns that are being raised on the floor of the House. Of course, the matter does not qualify to be raised as an urgent matter without notice, but an important issue has been raised, which needs to be addressed. The Honorable Minister for Local Government is not here. The Honorable Minister of Finance is not here. I'm sure they are engaged with other important government responsibilities. So please do engage. Do engage. The ministers were here yesterday. Just because they are not here today because of some other government engagements, it doesn't mean that they don't care. But please do engage. They are available. Do engage them. Otherwise, put in a question, then that issue can be addressed. So the matter is not admitted. The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. The matter I wish to raise, Madam Speaker, is directed at Her Honor the Vice President, Mumoyo wangu. Madam Speaker,
Honorable members, you are exchanging in some language which is not familiar. What are you saying to each other?
Chirandijisa umoyo wangu, Madam Speaker. That's it.
Meaning?
It hurts me in my soul.
What hurts you? What is hurting?
What I'm going to raise, Madam Speaker,
you should
the
have
urgent
come
matter.
for the Zambia National Breakfast Prayer. You would have been healed. I was missing. I was looking out for the honorable member from Nkana. I said, where is he? He should have attended this. We missed you at the prayer meeting, breakfast prayer meeting. May the honorable member for Nakonde continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know that this year is an election year. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, there are some political parties that have already started campaigning. For instance, Madam Speaker, in Idwansha, we have seen UPND doing road shows, playing campaign songs, and in many other areas. And our people, Madam Speaker, from Luansha, have been calling us if as well they can start campaigning. This is true, Madam Speaker. You can also confirm from the honorable members who are here. We want to find out, Madam Speaker, if this is the time to start campaigning so that each and every political party can engage their members and start campaigning. Because what we know, Madam Speaker, the time for campaigning will come, and now, what is it that other political party already have started campaigning, doing road shows, disturbing people, playing campaign songs? Madam Speaker, I need your serious guidance on this matter, because if this matter cannot be checked, it can bring some confusion. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Nakonde. You have raised an issue that people have started campaigning. We don't know. We have not provided evidence. Maybe the best, Honorable Member, is put in a question. Then it can be answered. It can be responded to as to who has started campaigning and which political party and who is doing what. So please put in a question. The matter is not admitted. So let's make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80. The Honorable Member for Namwala.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. Question 321.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The honorable member is asking the Minister of Technology and Science 3 questions. In A, Honorable Mapani is asking my ministry 3 questions. In A, is asking that what was the staff establishment for researchers at NISA as of February 2026. Madam Speaker, the NISA we are talking about is the National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research, NISA in short. The second question, Madam Speaker, is what was the actual number of researchers as of February 2026? The third question, Madam Speaker, is does the government have plans to employ additional researchers? And the last one is when will these plans be implemented? Our response, Madam Speaker, in A, where is asking about the establishment for researchers at NISA, our response is, as of February 2026, the approved establishment for researchers at the National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research was at 53 positions. Now, number 2, our response to the second question, the actual number of researchers as of February 2026, Madam Speaker, the actual number of researchers available as of February 2026 was 9. And this includes 4 PhD orders and 5 master's orders. The third question, Madam Speaker, and the response, if government have plans to employ additional researchers, Madam Speaker, yes, we have plans to employ additional researchers. And the government is also very much aware of the fact that indeed adequate and qualified researchers are the backbone of any research institution, and that without them, even the best funded laboratories are just rooms full of expensive equipment. And to address this, government has taken the following measures. One, to increase NASA's 2026 operational grant from 28 million in 2025 to 35.5 million in 2026. Another measure that we have undertaken is the allocation of this increment, which was the recruitment of additional. Because of this allocated additional funds, we are now recruiting additional researchers to a tune of 12 in 2026, with further recruitment to follow progressively until the establishment is filled. The last question, Madam Speaker, when will these plans be implemented? Madam Speaker, as highlighted above, implementation has already commenced, and the NISA management has already advertised for research positions to be filled this year. And I want to conclude by saying that through increased funding, Madam Speaker, targeted recruitment and ongoing institutional reforms, government is ensuring that NASA regains its full operational strength and will continue to contribute meaningfully to national development. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, this is a very, very important question. I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Namwala for raising this issue. I was going through the functions of this institute. It's supposed to be one of the most important institutions in Zambia. Research on how to purify water, research on how to combat diseases, research on how to develop vaccines. Madam Speaker, we cannot overemphasize the importance of this organization. And based on that very short background and very important background, Acting Minister of Science and Technology, do you think this is a priority to your government? Do you think that this is so important that the issues raised by the Member of Parliament could be given priority in terms of funding? We fund this institute, we get the right outputs, we do the research, we find our own solutions to our problems. Do you think, in summary, that this is a priority, that it could get the right amount of funding? Because clearly, Madam Speaker, there's a problem of funding. You can't have 53 researchers, the whole Zambia. Madam Speaker, there's nothing that we are going to sort out if we don't give this institution the right amount of money. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the Honourable Member for that follow-up question. And also to indicate that he has told me to be very, very brief and summarize. I think that's what I heard from the Honourable Member. Madam Speaker, indeed, I will do just that. I agree with the Honourable Member that this is a very, very important institution. And I think for us, what we found that institution, how we found it, we didn't have a lot of researchers there. This is the more reason, Madam Speaker, that we have allocated substantial amount of money so that we can start recruiting. This year, as I indicated in my response, that we are recruiting 12, and we are going to do it progressively. So indeed, we attach great importance to this institution, because without this, we will not be able to do a lot of things. But again, I want also to mention that this is again an institution that is so poor, I think, in retaining officers. I think the retention has been very, very poor because a lot of our researchers have now gone to the private sector for greener pastures. But I think that with the environment that is so enabling now, I think we'll be able to retain some of the researchers. But to agree with you, yes, it's a very important institution, and we are doing everything possible to recruit more researchers so that we can have so many researchers at this institution. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Namwala.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. Through you to the Minister, that the Minister has confirmed that the condition of services for the researchers is poor at the Institute. I just want to find out whether there's an intention for government to look at their condition as they look at increasing the operational funds. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Science and Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member. I think it was just an advice that the Honourable Member has given to us, and we believe that indeed, for us to avoid poor retention, we need to really do something when it comes to conditions of service for our researchers so that they don't look elsewhere. But apart from that, Madam Speaker, there could also be other reasons of the poor retention. Sometimes when you have an environment that is not so conducive for our officers to operate from, it will really make them go to other institutions. So apart from just employing, we are also looking at how best we can modernize the infrastructure that we do have now. I think that could be a motivation to our officers. Yes, I'm just being reminded that indeed officers are running away. Madam Speaker, if you remember very well here, we had researchers from Petauke who have also run away. Yes. Maybe they are also running from this same institution. I thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes.
Wherever they are listening. The Honourable Member for Lunte.
Madam, thank you so much. The Honourable Minister, you have indicated that you found this institute in a chaotic manner, and you are doing your best as UPNG to beef up this particular institute. Madam Speaker, 53 openings with only 9 members of staff in those establishments, or in that establishment, means 16%. The Honourable Minister said this year we'll add 12. When they add 12 to the 9, they are going to have 21 members of staff against an establishment of 53. Madam, that is 39%. That is a drive that the government is having. Now, what is the importance, or how much importance does the UPND government attach to science-driven decisions? Because in the absence of research, then you are sure that you are not driving your decisions scientifically, given what you have just offered us. How much premium do you place as a UPND government on science-driven decisions? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, the fact that we have increased the allocation from 25 million to 35.5 million, it is indeed an indicator that we attach great importance to research. That's number one. Number two, Madam Speaker, obviously, when we are talking about employing researchers, it will also add value to what we intended to achieve. So the 12
plus 9 that are there, it will really change a lot of things at the institution. And when we're talking about employment, Madam Speaker, honorable member will be able to bear me witness that one important issue that we should interrogate in adding value to this institution is by this government first and foremost to put up a policy by removing the issue of employment freeze, because maybe we are grappling with researchers at this institution because of the policy that was created by our colleagues of the employment freeze. So we may not be surprised why we had only 9 because of the employment freeze. Now that the employment freeze has been removed, we are now employing. So that is how we have really attached great importance to institutions like this one. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kanyama.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. And Minister, thank you for your responses. Madam Speaker, it's so saddening to hear that where there's an establishment of about 53 employees, only 9 are employed. You see, it saddens me actually, and looking at the importance of this institution. Madam Speaker, I just want to thank the government and the Honourable Minister for your efforts to revamp this, which was actually dying. So for that, I think it's a heads up. However, Madam Speaker, I just want to look at the modernization fund that this institution has embarked on. Minister, are you not thinking of taking advantage of this modernization fund that has been accredited to your ministry to help stabilize the work environment in that institution so that it can attract the would-be scientists and those that are still saving, so that the environment is stable, because this is the more reason why a number of scientists are leaving, because the working environment is not that stable. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Kanyama, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, indeed, there's a lot that really can motivate our workers. We should not only look at the salary. There is a lot that is involved. Even in the environment that our officers are operating from, also really may motivate or demotivate our workers. So what I've said, and I think that he has agreed with me, and I'm happy that he has really appreciated our efforts. What I said was that apart from recruiting more researchers, we are also modernizing the infrastructure, because our researchers indeed needed to operate in an environment that is very, very conducive, and really that could be a motivation. So indeed, apart from recruiting the researchers, we are also modernizing the infrastructure. And Madam Speaker, when we talk about recruitment, the 12 that I talked about is not the end. My answer was very clear that this will really, with further recruitment to follow progressively, so that we can now get to where we want to get the 53. Madam Speaker, we are even better off, the 9 plus 12, that makes 20, I think that makes 21. And because of the great importance that we have attached to these institutions, we'll make sure that we get to the established 53. And also, going by Honorable Kafuaya's concern, we can even recruit more so that we really do justice to these institutions. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, Honourable Member for Lunte, you want to raise a point of order. What's the point of order?
Madam, thank you once again. for the opportunity to raise a point of order on the Honourable Minister who's on the floor of the House right now. Madam, as you may recall, because it's a transaction that happens just a few minutes ago, I asked the Minister a very straightforward, seeking the Minister's insight in terms of how much premium the UPND government places on taking scientifically backed decisions. Instead of just telling me a degree of importance, the Minister found it fit to take me back to a time when the late President Michael Sata was in office, when there was an employment freeze. Madam Speaker, do you find that necessary? When UPND has been employing, they have employed nurses, they have employed teachers, they have secretly employed police officers, they have expanded the number of members of parliament by 70 plus nominated, they have just employed everywhere. And yet, in this particular institute, they only have 9 people, and he's telling me they are going to add 12. Then I ask him, what is the premium? Do you place the same amount of premium as you do on politicians expanding this chamber by 70 constituencies? Madam Speaker, is he in order to take that trajectory in answering a very patriotic question? I seek your serious ruling on this matter, Madam.
The only challenge that I see is that instead of raising a point of order, you are now bringing in other issues of how many people have been employed. Should have just raised a point of order, and then I would have asked the Honourable Minister, what premium does the UPN government place on recruitment of researchers? Maybe you can answer the Honourable Member for Lund.
Madam Speaker, and I'm happy that, Madam Speaker, you've really guided. Madam Speaker, when we are talking about a premium, it's what value we are adding to that particular institution. And as I said, the value that we have added is, number one, we have even advertised, as I'm talking to you now, Madam Speaker, there's an advert going on that we are employing 12 researchers. So it means that, first, that is a premium. Number two, Madam Speaker, we don't expect to employ the whole 53 at once. Looking at the resource envelope, Madam Speaker, you can only employ when you are growing the economy. Why they failed maybe to employ is because the economy was growing at negative 2.8, in case he has forgotten. Now that we are growing at almost 6%, Madam Speaker, we have that leverage now, we can employ. So this is the reason why we have started employing, because we are the first to make sure that we stabilize the economy. That's number one. Number two, I said that we are modernizing this institution. That is a premium. Number three, we have removed the employment freeze that was created by this MPF, so that we have room for us now to employ. Madam Speaker, this is what we are saying. So that is the premium that we have really attached to these institutions. I agree with you. This is a very important institution, but you neglected it. You can imagine, how could you have only less than 9 out of the 53 establishments? And today you stand in this house and want to be an angel. You want to be kind-hearted, as if you did something good. So, Madam Speaker, this is the premium that we have really put there, because we know that without research, Zambia cannot go anywhere. Madam Speaker, I must also remind this House that when we are talking about previously we used to have, is it Tip Top? Remember that drink? Yes. These ideas which came from these institutions. Yes. So now, when we attach again Trade Kings, they are also benefiting from the ideas that are coming from these institutions. That's the reason why we are saying, no, let's employ so many and better the conditions of service of our workers so that they are motivated. That's the premium, Madam Speaker. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we have dealt with the issue. We can make progress. I see that the Honorable Member for Lunte is still not happy. But anyway, let's make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Pemba. I know in his mind he's very happy. That's why he's smiling.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question 322 on behalf of the good people of Pemba.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member for Pemba, Honourable Lamek Kamwata, asks government whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate school infrastructure at Pemba Boarding School in Pemba District, and B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, C, what the scope of the work is, D, what the estimated cost of project is, and E, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, allow us to inform the Chamber that government has plans to rehabilitate infrastructure at Pemba Boarding Secondary School in Pemba District. B,
You
Madam
are leaving
Speaker.
again, Honorable Member for Lunte and Lukasha. This, you are not visitors, you own this house, so please be with us. You are coming back. Hopefully the Honorable Member for Lukasha will also come back. Thank you. Proceed, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, the rehabilitation works are scheduled to be undertaken within the 2027-2029 medium-term budget plan, subject to the availability of resources. The government remains committed to mobilizing the required finance through national budget and cooperating partners to facilitate the rehabilitation of the school infrastructure. And C, Madam Speaker, the scope of work for the rehabilitation of Pemba Secondary School is expected to include the following: 1, overhaul of the water reticulation system; 2, overhaul of the waste reticulation system; 3, replacement of asbestos roofing sheets on affected structures; 4, steel and iron works, including doors and window frames; 5, glazing works; 6, paint works; 7, electrical installation works; and 8, provision of bunker beds for the boarding facilities. D, Madam Speaker, the estimated cost of the rehabilitation works is 8.5 million. And E, in view of the response provided in Part A, Part E, Madam Speaker, is adequately addressed. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we make progress, Honorable Member for Mitete, you want to raise a point of order. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, I would have, using standing order for 2024, number 216, 3, 2, 2, and 3. But it's like it's being managed in terms of dress code, but it's being managed. So, Madam Speaker, I'm not going to raise it. Thank you very much.
It's being managed within or outside the house?
Within.
So somebody's dressing up just now?
Yes. Madam Speaker?
That was on a lighter note. Anyway, since it's being addressed, let's make progress. Supplementary questions. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, the Honorable Minister, Acting Minister of Education. The people of Pemba constituency are now smiling. Madam Speaker, this school is as old as my age. Now, Honorable Minister, are there some measures that can be taken in the interim while we are waiting for the major overhaul for this school in 2027 to 2029? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Acting Minister of Education.
Yes, Madam Speaker. The ministry is looking at some of the critical areas, for example, the waste reticulation, which the school cannot function if they are not looked at. So the answer is yes, there are certain remedial measures which are being planned. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Acting Minister of Education, this question would not have come if information had been provided to the area member of Parliament in terms of a maintenance policy for the Ministry of Education. And that is why I would want to find out, Madam Speaker, does your ministry have a maintenance policy on school infrastructure? Because if the policy is there, then there's a maintenance plan. If the maintenance plan is there, it means that it's just a matter of providing resources to maintain the school facility. And no one would be asking these very important questions. So I want to find out, does your ministry have a maintenance policy on school infrastructure? Because I equally have the same problem in my constituency. And I'm sure many other MPs have got old schools that are not properly maintained. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The answer is yes. In fact, just today we went beyond the issues of just a maintenance policy for infrastructure, but even for grounds. We had a very long chat at the ministry, and then I was quite educated that yes, there is a maintenance policy, and what we want to do is to strengthen the unit that follows up schools in terms of maintaining infrastructure and indeed the grounds, so that we can have schools which are attractive by sight and also clean and student friendly in terms of the infrastructure. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 323.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member, Honorable Chingami Yutu, Member of Parliament for Kalabo Central, asked the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security the following questions. What progress was made in the issuance of birth certificates as of January 2026? Whether the exercise has been decentralized to provincial and district levels? And C, if the program has not been decentralized, why? Madam Speaker, in response to the questions asked by the Honorable Member, I wish to state the following. Birth registration and issuance of birth certificates in Zambia commenced on 23 March 1973 following the enactment of the Birth Certificates and Death Registration Act, Chapter 51 of the Laws of Zambia. Before that, only colored and non-Zambians were issued with birth certificates. From that time until 2016, through birth registration was conducted through birth registration was conducted in all districts, and issuance of birth certificates remained centralized and was undertaken exclusively at the Department of National Registration, Passport and Citizenship, head office in Lusaka. In 2016, the government issued a statutory instrument number 44 of 2016, the Births and the Deaths Registration General Amendment Rule of 2016. This statutory instrument, Madam Speaker, revised the procedural forms and structure under the existing framework, and most importantly, provided for the decentralization of the issuance of the birth certificates in all districts across the country. Prior to this, Madam Speaker, and indeed to the Honourable colleague, the introduction of a full integrated digital system and utilization of internal electronic platforms to support the certificate production was also being introduced as an abbreviation DOC-IT, Document Management System Implementation, in 2014 to 2019, which has since been also been decommissioned as the micro-access-based application, which remains partial operational. Madam Speaker, just to run a little bit quickly here for the member, during this time, over 3.2 million birth certificates were issued through the manual and interim electoral system, representing only 16% coverage, indicated relatively very low indeed. Again, I will jump here for the Member of Parliament. Birth registration for this, the low representation of birth certificate under the age of 5 has been approximately around 14%, while certificates have been at about 6%. So in short, Madam Speaker, there are so many notes, but in short, I want to say that indeed there has been the continuation of birth certificates, which has come to the number of 556,297 birth certificates have been issued through the INRIS in the districts where INRIS has not yet been rolled out. Printing of birth certificate is being facilitated at nearest certification centers. Notwithstanding what I've said above, Madam Speaker, we do acknowledge as government that there have been challenges in this endeavor, and one of them being low awareness and importance of birth registration. The centralization of the system did not help as well, and indeed also some of the relevant papers which people did not have was part of the challenge. And I think this one will be critical to Honourable Miyutu and all of us to really try to help our communities when it comes to our practices, which usually delay the naming of a child when it's birthed. So this will help us if we can be naming our children prior or while they are still in the health centers. And of course, the absence until recently of an integrated civil registration and identity management system. Just to say that, Madam Speaker, to all the questions that have been asked, we are saying that as a government, we have taken the initiative to actually make sure that in all health facilities, there are certification centers. As we speak right now around the country, there are 800 certification centers of birth certificates. And where there may be no health centers or just outside the health centers, we have 99 outside the health centers. To the second question, I've already answered in my response. Indeed, we have decentralized, but more can be done, especially with awareness and sensitization. Lastly, but not the least, Madam Speaker, to the third question, we continue to encourage the community really to make sure that they take seriously the registration of their children and indeed our customs to change. In terms of the laws, I'll end here. In 2016, as I've already alluded to, the birth and death registration statutory instrument was revised, and this resulted in SI number 44 of 2016, and this has helped to strengthen the registration and indeed the birth certificate process has increased and has helped us in the decentralization of birth certificates. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Acting Minister of Home Affairs, Your report indicates that most health facilities now will be issuing birth certificates. That is what your report is indicating. Unfortunately, Honorable Minister, the reality is different, and it explains why this question has been brought, because, Madam Speaker, some of us have had the privilege to tour some of the facilities, not only in our constituencies, but in other parts of Zambia. I think we were in Mushindamo with the United Nations over a project similar to what you are trying to address. And we found operational challenges. When parents want to have their children captured as having been born in a certain area, you first need a birth record. Then the birth record now has to be upgraded to a birth certificate. The places where this coordination has to take place, Acting Minister of Home Affairs, is not one center. Now, there's a challenge. People in rural part of Zambia cannot have the motivation to move from point A simply to go and do the other part of registration in another part of the constituency or district. So in terms of operation, Madam Speaker, there are challenges to achieve what you are referring to. Therefore, Acting Minister of Home Affairs, what is your ministry doing to address the real challenge? The real challenge is that administratively what you are reporting is not happening. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and indeed I take note of the concern from the Honourable Member. I think here we were categorical in responding that there has been indeed a low turnout as it relates to receiving birth certificates. And one of the reasons I alluded to is the very issue that you have talking about, Honourable Member, that the lack of one-stop, if you may call it that. And this is why, with the partnerships from other collaborating partners, we are now moving to having registration desks in these health centers, and hopefully that as we go into the future, we can ensure that not only do we have at least some digitalization, because that was what is going to help us. I remember you bringing a motion on digitalization, and these are the areas that we are improving as a government so that we can have the records right in real time and to ensure that the certificate is given right there. And so, again, we ask to the honorable members and to all of us and the public, let's try to also rethink our traditional values as well as digitalize some of these issues. We are committed to that, Honourable Member.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for the response. However, Honourable Minister, the issue of birth certificates, when you are in town, it's easily heard from people and parents. But in the far rural there, even this issue of right now, the government wants to come up with a law of free education. And one of the conditions under the access of free education is the availability, the proof of being a Zambian. And I'm sure a birth certificate is one of the documents. So the sensitization amongst the parents in the rural area is almost nil. Is there any financial support to the department or any logistics to support the department so that sensitization to the parents is enhanced? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, Honourable Member, the owner of the question, Honourable Chingamiyutu, The issue of awareness is one that we have taken seriously as a government, and that is why we have actually endeavored to partner with other people who are more closer to the people. For example, we have taken advantage of the health campaigns when they are happening to try and be there as well, so that our people, when they come for immunization, or maybe there is awareness of certain breakouts in the communities, we are using these opportunities also to use them to ensure that the certification of the birth certificates are being obtained. But again, it gets back to the issue of digitalization of our systems as a government, so that there is easy access for all documents for the relevant purposes, as well as awareness. And I cannot emphasize enough to say we as members of Parliament, we do have opportunities more than any other officer because we are interested in the votes. So as we do that, let's also talk about the importance of our people having these birth certificates, because they will be needed away from free education, which has been brought by the able leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema. Many other benefits may require them to have a certificate. So we are depending on you. We are depending on sensitization on radio programs. A lot of community radios can also help us. This is a very important question, and we look forward to ensuring that every Zambian can have a birth certificate. We remain committed to that as a government.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, a follow-up question on this very important question posed by Honourable MP for Kalabo is that, yes, indeed, as you acknowledged, the process to decentralize the issuance of birth certificates started in between 2016 and 2019. And this was to enhance civil registration, as you have pointed out. There is a program on one hand, which I've partially spoken to, which is the Integrated National Registration Information System, INRIS, which would have then been the system to interface with the health facilities, which we are saying are now issuing the birth certificates. I would like to know from you, because the issuance and signing of birth certificates, according to the previous act, was a responsibility of the the Registrar General. How many centers, in terms of provinces, are now issuing and have got the authority to sign the birth certificates? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Honourable Member, again for Shiwangandu, Honourable Kampyongo. From the response that we have been provided with is that there are over 800 birth registration desks in health facilities across the country. And again, this is to ensure that there are recordings also happening as soon as the birth occurs, which, again, I've already alluded to some of the challenges that we have around there. For example, here at the Women and Newborn Hospital here at UTH also, this initiative also has been ongoing. It has expanded to other large hospitals in this year, actually. And then there are also other centers, as already alluded to, and there are 99 which are outside the health centers. However, in terms of the signing, I want to believe that there must be a designated staff who is the equivalent of the the Registrar General. But if that's not the case, I stand to be corrected, because how will we then have all these certificates signed? So again, we remain committed, Honourable Member. A lot of us here are parents. We have been in these situations where we needed a birth certificate, and we know that a lot of our colleagues in the region, this is very digitalized. It happens right there and then, and it will also help us as we look at coming to vote or get a voters register, that will have more accurate information. And I know you come with a lot of experience, having been the minister in this office. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kasanengo.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. I know this is exciting news to most of our mothers, let me just say parents in our respective constituencies. And it's good that this exercise has finally taken off. Now, according to the response from the minister, she is saying we have about 800 centers where registration will be taking place. I wanted to find out through you, Madam Speaker, and maybe riding on the question from Honorable Member for Kalabo, what measures have been put in place for those who are far from these centers where registration takes place, because it's not every health center where registration will be done, but there are these people who are in far-flung areas, maybe the nearest health center to them does not do registration. What mitigation measures have you put in place so that those people can be forced or maybe encouraged to go and get their babies or their children registered or acquire the birth certificates? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Again, I have stated that away from the, first of all, we have our usual registrar office here in Lusaka, but as you know, that's not enough. And then we also have our districts where these registrations are happening. In addition to that, I went on to say that the government has partnered with other organizations, the UN agencies, which has created about 800 health desks where these registrations are taking place. Now, to your point, there are places where maybe the health post is far away, 10, 15 kilometers. There are 99 other places where this is happening. What I do not have is where those 99 places are. So maybe in future, or we can bring back another question if we want to be exact so that we see how are they dotted in the country. The point though is taken that indeed we have to continue expanding these registration centers. We have to continue to ensure that as we digitalize the process, as Honorable Kampyongo alluded to the IRIS program, we can see to a day that once you give birth, wherever you are at a health place, you actually not only get the birth record, but also the birth certificate. That is the goal for this new dawn government.
Thank you very much. We make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Lufwanyama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 324 on behalf of people of Lufwanyama.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Again, the Honourable Member, Honourable Kenny Sia Chisumo, Member of Parliament for Lufwanyama constituency, asked the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security the following questions. A, whether the government has plans to upgrade Lufwanyama police station in Lufwanyama district to a grade A police station. B, if when the plans will be implemented. And C, if there are no plans, why? And D, what criteria the government will use to upgrade the police station from what criteria government uses to upgrade police stations from one level to the next. And lastly, E, what factors contribute to a police station remaining at the same grade for an extended period of time? Madam Speaker, we want to offer the following response. The government do not have immediate plans to upgrade Lufwanyama police station to a grade A station, as this police station was just recently upgraded to Class B in 2022 and only came into fruition in 2023. The House may also wish to note that a grade A station, police station has an establishment of 116 positions or 119 positions where a marine unit is included. And a B grade police station has 89 positions or 93 positions with a marine establishment, while a grade C police station has 51 positions or 54 positions where a marine unit is present. In B, Madam Speaker, and indeed to the Honourable colleague, as stated above, the government has no immediate plans to upgrade Lufwanyama police station to a grade A police station due to the reasons that it was recently upgraded to a grade B and indeed only came into fruition in 2023. And the other question in C, the absence of immediate plans for upgrading the station, what will be the reasons for that? Madam Speaker, I think we have offered the answers above. And D, the House may wish to note that government uses different criteria when upgrading a police station, and to these are the following: high crime in the area, higher population or the growth of the population in size of our people, availability and condition of the infrastructure and equipment to be used, and lastly, staffing levels and operation capacity. And we want to thank you, the people of Lufwanyama, that the crime in that area has not really increased. And lastly, which is E, the following factors may contribute to the police station remaining at the same grade for an extended period of time, and this is why, as I've already alluded to once again, low and stable crime rates that do not justify an upgrade. We thank you, the people of Lufwanyama, for really staying away from criminal activities. The population, once again, has remained very static to the extent to command for another upgrade. And lastly, the inadequate infrastructure does not meet the A grade. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honourable Member for Lufwanyama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, the Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, for your adequate response. Madam Speaker, I would like to find out from the Minister if the government has got any plans to increase the police posts in Lufwanyama, because Lufwanyama is a very, very big district from Masaiti, Pongwe, up to Mushindamu. As she has mentioned, we only have one station. So has the government has any plans to increase the police stations in Lufwanyama? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the Honourable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honourable. I've just been whispered to by the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure that he was with you not too long ago, and he did give advice, but you sneaked in the question anyway. So the answer from Honourable Minister of Infrastructure remains the response, Madam Speaker, that as government, in the meantime, we do ask that the Honourable Member of Parliament of Lufwanyama does use CDF to help with the health post, which we are all doing in our different constituencies. Madam Speaker, I submit. Police posts.
Yeah. Police post, yes. Thank you. Grouped questions for oral answer, understanding order 83. The Honourable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Question 325.
I have permitted the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development to respond to questions 325, 326, and 327 as grouped questions. The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The first two questions relate to the ones given by the Honourable Member for Mpika, Honourable Francis Kapianga. and asking the Minister of Information, the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. The first question is whether government has any plans to construct Nyungwe Bridge connecting Ruitikira to Chipushi, Nungwe in Mpika Parliamentary constituency. If so, when the plans will be implemented, what the estimated cost of the project is, and if there are no such plans, why? The other question from Honorable Kapyanga is to ask me when the government will rehabilitate Kapamba Bridge in Mpika Parliamentary constituency, which is in deplorable state. The third question is from Honorable Lamek Hamata, Member of Parliament for Pemba, asking my ministry the following questions: whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the damaged crossing points along the Pemba-Mapanza Road in Pemba Parliamentary constituency. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and what the estimated cost on the project is, and if there are no such plans, why? We're dealing with the first question, Madam Speaker. The government has plans to construct a Nyungwe Bridge connecting Vitikira to Chipushi, Nungwe in Mpika Parliamentary constituency. The plans will be implemented once the government secures the funds for the project. Government, through the RDA Muchinga Provincial Office, has done preliminary assessments and the cost estimates at the proposed intervention of raising the approach embankments, constructing off-bridge and the relief culverts is approximately 20,800,000 kwacha for a girder bridge. As stated above, the government has plans to construct that particular bridge. A bit of further information, Madam Speaker. RDA assessed that proposal in 2025, and it proposed to raise the approach embankments, construct the bridge, and install relief culverts. At the moment, just for his information, I'm sure he's fully aware of that, people cross the river at this site using a footbridge. The span of the bridge is approximately 25 meters in length, and the proposed bridge is a composite bridge or a girder bridge. The scope of the works will include, but not limited to, construction of substructure, construction of superstructure and decking, raising of approach roads, and the installation of culverts, relief culverts. Dealing with the other question from the Honourable Member, where he was asking on the construction of Nyungwe Bridge connecting Ruitikira to Chipushi, Nungwe in Mpika Parliamentary constituency. We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. The government has plans to construct Nyungwe Bridge, and the plans will be implemented once the government sources funds. Government through RDA in Muchinga province has done preliminary assessments, and the cost estimates of the proposed intervention of raising the approach embankments, constructing of bridge, and the relief culverts is approximately 20.8 billion. I think that's the first one I was answering, Madam Speaker. The answer to his question is government has plans to rehabilitate. There are too many questions that tend to confuse. Government has plans to rehabilitate Kapamba Bridge in Mpika Parliamentary constituency when funds are available. But a bit more information on this particular one is the Kapamba River was earmarked as one of the crossing points to be connected through the installation of a prefabricated steel acro bridge through Fossa County. These are the famous acro bridges all over the country. Government, through the RDA Muchinga office, has already made assessments with proposed cost estimate of 6.513 million kwacha. The span of this bridge is 24.3 meters in length, and the scope include construction of the substructure, launching prefabricated steel component bridge, and the raising of approach embankments and the installation of relief culverts. Currently, people cross using, again, a footbridge. The bridge will be constructed once government funds are released. But I wish to mention, Honorable Member for Pika, that the installation of acro bridges are accelerated in particular constituents where members of parliament work with us and release a portion of the cost required from CDF. Many of your colleagues, for example, Honorable Member for Zambezi West, including your own neighbor, Member for Kanchivia, have done this, and we have quickly concluded the installation of those bridges. So I urge you to look at this particular installation, because the acro bridge was ordered for that site, and they will then be in a position to put it up very, very quickly. You provide some sources, and the RDA will also provide some resources to ensure the full installation is done. The answer to the question, Madam Speaker, that relates to the damaged crossing points along the Pemba-Mapanza Road in Pemba Parliamentary constituency, is government through the RDA in Southern Office has been repairing culverts along this stretch. The project is ongoing and will be completed once funds from the Treasury are mobilized. The RDA conducted assessments of the emergency repair work on drainage structures along that stretch between August 2024 and June 2025. The estimated cost of the project is 10 million kwacha flat, of which 4 million kwacha, just slightly over 4 million kwacha, has been released to date. As stated in air above, the government is rehabilitating and will complete the emergency repair works on the damaged crossing points along this stretch once these funds, the remainder of the funds, are released. Additional information on this particular one, Madam Speaker, is that the RDA conducted the emergency repairs works on drainage structures on this particular road between August 2024 and June 2025, with the estimated cost, as I said, of 10 million. The project scope involved, but not limited to, the following: maintenance of Tambanyama vented drift culvert, river training at Tambanyama drift, road formations and the filling of gullies, and the installation of culverts. The project was executed based on the availability of funds. Further, note that the project is ongoing and is awaiting the allocation of further funds. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honourable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for the information, especially that you are indicating that 10 million budget has been set aside and 4 million was released. But we want to know which crossing points along this road are being worked on. I have in mind one of the crossing points west of Kasia Courage that is almost being cut to a point where a 30-ton truck may not be able to cross that bridge. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
I think, Madam Speaker, this was continuous work. That's exactly what I mentioned, that we are carrying out some maintenance. Now, as it relates to the point or the site that was mentioned near Kasia, I would urge the Honourable Member to engage with us. If there is imminent cutting off of a particular point, then we treat it as an emergency. And if he's able to engage with us, some emergency work can be carried out to ensure that that site is not cut. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There are no other supplementary questions, so we make progress. Motions, the Honourable Member for Shangombo.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on the 17th of April, 2026.
Is the motion seconded?
Madam Speaker, it is seconded.
Order. Seconded by the Honourable Member for Ron. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Shangombo.
Madam Speaker, in line with its terms of reference, the committee considered the topical issue on enhancing road safety in Zambia. In carrying out this important consignment, the committee sought both written and oral submissions from various stakeholders. Madam Speaker, road traffic accidents have continued to pose a serious public safety and developmental challenges in Zambia. The loss of lives, permanent injuries, and destruction of property arising from road traffic accidents not only cause untold suffering to families, but also impose a heavy socioeconomic burden on the nation. It is against this backdrop that the committee found it imperative to deliberate on road traffic accidents so as to devise sustained measures that will enhance road safety and safeguard the lives of our citizens. Madam Speaker, during its deliberations, the committee identified a number of gaps in the legal, institutional, and operational frameworks which require urgent attention. Madam Speaker, your committee observes that the current road safety legislation is not sufficiently comprehensive and does not adequately reflect emerging and evolving road safety risks. These include increased traffic volumes and advancements in technology, the growing use of electric vehicles, and the absence of robust deterrent penalty regimes. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the piece of legislation governing road safety be comprehensively reviewed and updated to address these contemporary challenges. This should include strengthening the penalty regime, particularly through the introduction of a mandatory custodial sentence for causing death by dangerous driving in order to enhance its deterrent effect. Madam Speaker, the committee further observed that the roles and responsibilities among road safety institutions are not clearly defined, resulting in duplication of functions and a lack of coordinated action from key institutions. The key institutions include the Road Transport and Safety Agents, the Road Development Agents, and the local authorities. They often operate in silos rather than in a coordinated manner. In view of this, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the government should clearly define and harmonize the roles and responsibilities of all road safety institutions through a review of the relevant legislative and policy frameworks. This should include establishing a formal coordination mechanism to enhance collaboration among the road transport and safety agents, the road development agents, the Zambia police, and the local authorities. Madam Speaker, the committee also observed that the effectiveness of road enforcement is significantly undermined by resource constraints and governance challenges. In particular, there is insufficient enforcement equipment, including speed cameras, breathalyzers, patrol vehicles, and inspection tools, which limit the capacity of enforcement agencies to effectively monitor and ensure compliance. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the government, as a matter of urgency, should prioritize the strengthening of road safety enforcement by investing in adequate enforcement equipment, including speed cameras, breathalyzers, patrol vehicles, and inspection tools in order to enhance operational capacity. Madam Speaker, the committee further observed with concern that corruption and informal practices remain a major obstacle to effective road safety enforcement. Offenders often evade penalties through bribery or informal arrangements, which undermine public trust in enforcement institutions and makes compliance appear optional rather than mandatory. In view of this, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the government should urgently devise mechanisms to combat corruption and enhance transparency in road safety enforcement. Key interventions should include the implementation of cashless fines, digital ticketing systems, and comprehensive electronic records to minimize opportunities for bribery and informal arrangements. Madam Speaker, the message from your committee is clear. Road safety is not an option. It is a necessity. It is not a secondary concern. It is a national priority. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, allow me to express my sincere gratitude to you and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia for the support rendered to the committee during its deliberations. Gratitude is also extended to all stakeholders who provided valuable submissions which formed the basis of the report before this House. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
So, the Honourable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to me to second the motion. I want to begin by sincerely thanking the chairperson of the committee in the manner that he has moved the motion, and indeed in the manner that he has outlined the salient matters that the committee made, including the observations and recommendations. Madam Speaker, I will restrict myself to at least a few points that the mover of the motion has not highlighted. Madam Speaker, indeed the committee observed that the poor road infrastructure remains a major concern of accidents and fatalities in our country. Madam Speaker, even when we know that the government is trying its best to improve on the road infrastructure, but there are sections of the roads that needs quick attention to avoid these fatalities and indeed road accidents on our roads. Madam Speaker, you'll be amazed to notice that many roads actually lack a lot of critical issues, such as safety features, including pedestrian walkways, cycling lanes, signage, Madam Speaker, of course markings, street lighting, and safe crossing points. Madam Speaker, many of our roads are actually lacking a lot of signages or road furniture, but I would want to urge the institutions responsible for putting up this on our roads to indeed continue making sure that they install the proper road signages on our roads. Even when we see some sorts of vandalism on the road furniture, Madam Speaker, the government asks us to continue replacing them so that we can avoid the road fatalities. Madam Speaker, this also includes unsafe highway rail crossing and poor road conditions, which also delay emergency responses, especially in rural areas. Some of the roads in our rural areas, Madam Speaker, affect the quick response to accidents when they happen because of the nature and the conditions that they are in. We are also worried as a committee, Madam Speaker, that most of our railroad crossings in the country are actually in a bad state and needs quick attention. Madam Speaker, the other issue that your committee observed and makes a recommendation is to prioritize the upgrading and maintenance of road infrastructure, including safety features and improved emergency accesses. Most of our roads, Madam Speaker, they do not have shoulders. Most of our roads, Madam Speaker, they do not have lay-bys. Most of our roads, Madam Speaker, lack all these things, and in cases of breakdowns, you will find that trucks are actually parked in the middle of the roads, and it's very difficult sometimes for oncoming vehicles to observe these broken down trucks. We also want to recommend as a committee, Madam Speaker, that those trucks that are broken down most of the time should quickly be removed from the roads. And it's amazing that sometimes when these trucks break down, it has become a trend, Madam Speaker, by most of the drivers not using the recommended signage in terms of triangles to warn the coming vehicles that there is a broken down vehicle ahead. But most of them, they have resorted to cutting big branches of trees and press them behind the broken down vehicles and in front. And once they repair these vehicles, Madam Speaker, they leave these logs and branches on the road, which also affect the vehicles that are coming, especially in the night. Madam Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that the committee further notes that the number of traffic inspectors is inadequate despite increasing traffic in our country. Madam Speaker, your committee heard that the whole country has about 70 road traffic inspectors, which is far beyond the required numbers that can do the adequate and necessary road inspections in our country. Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I want to sincerely thank you and thank you, the mover, for the opportunity to second the motion. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Minister of Transport, Works, and Supply. Is it not Transport and Logistics? The Honorable Minister of Transport and Logistics to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to add my voice in unequivocal support of the adoption of the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in our country. Allow me to also commend the committee for a comprehensive, insightful and meticulous report that highlights the urgent need to strengthen road safety interventions. The recommendations contained therein are both timely and actionable. They reflect a deep appreciation of the multifaceted challenges confronting the road transport sector. I also wish to extend my sincere gratitude to all stakeholders who graciously availed their time and expertise to provide valuable input on this critical matter. Madam Speaker, allow me to state from the very outset that road safety is a shared national responsibility and not the duty of a single institution. While RATSA plays a key role in enforcement and regulation, all stakeholders, including motorists, especially drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, law enforcement agencies, local authorities, the private sector, civil society, and indeed every citizen who uses our roads must play their respective roles. It is only through collective resolve and a fundamental shift in mindset that the country can meaningfully reduce the scourge of road traffic accidents and fatalities. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn government, under the visionary leadership of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, has demonstrated resolute leadership and strong commitment to road safety as a key component of national development. This administration has prioritized the protection of human life through the implementation of deliberate, strategic, and sustained interventions aimed at improving road safety across the country. These include strengthening of regulatory frameworks and the rehabilitation and upgrading of critical road transport infrastructure along key economic corridors, including the transformative and unprecedented Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway. Madam Speaker, at this juncture, allow me to address some of the observations and recommendations made by your committee in the report. Number one, modernization of road safety legislation. This August House may wish to note that the government has commenced the process of reviewing the Road Traffic Act No. 11 of 2002 to introduce a mandatory radio frequency identification tagging system for all registered motor vehicles and motorcycles in Zambia. This digital platform will transform enforcement from outdated manual inspection-based methods to a modern technology-driven system that enables real-time monitoring and compliance. This will strengthen traffic law enforcement, improve compliance and operational efficiency, and enhance transparency and accountability while reducing opportunities for corruption. Improvement of institutional coordination. Madam Speaker, the government, through RATSA, has strengthened institutional coordination by establishing an interagency technical committee on road safety that brings together key stakeholders, including the Road Development Agency, the Zambia Police Service, and local authorities. This platform supports joint planning, coordination, and information sharing to align enforcement, traffic management, education, and infrastructure interventions, enabling a unified response to road safety challenges. In addition, RATSA continues to conduct joint operations and integrated enforcement programs with the Zambia Police Service to enhance compliance with road traffic laws. Furthermore, the integration of systems through platforms such as eZamtis enables real-time data sharing on vehicle compliance, offenses, and enforcement actions among relevant institutions. 3, investment in enforcement equipment. Madam Speaker, the government has made notable progress in strengthening enforcement capacity under RATSA through the procurement of key equipment and tools such as breathalyzers, portable and vehicle-mounted speed cameras, including the acquisition of patrol vehicles which, Madam Speaker, I shall be launching tomorrow. A total of 30 monitoring vehicles indeed will be unveiled tomorrow, including body cam cameras to promote accountability and transparency. Number 4, increase in the number of road traffic inspectors. Madam Speaker, in order to sustain enforcement operations under RATSA, the government has commenced the appointment of honorary road traffic inspectors with letters of appointment already issued to selected candidates from both the public and private sectors. This initiative is expected to significantly augment manpower and strengthen the agency's enforcement capacity. Madam Speaker, government remains committed to supporting the committee's recommendations and to continue working collectively towards strengthening road safety in our country. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next motion, the Honourable Member for Mwenilonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chief Secretary. Sorry, I'll do that. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the...
Sorry, apologies. I think I skipped. Oh, sorry, Honourable Member for Mwenilonga. We have to go back. I skipped one point. The winding up of debate by the Honourable Member for Shangom. When you don't debate, we move fast. The Honourable Member for Shangom. Winding up debate. We go back, so the Hansard should do this, go back, delete the part that we have even made a decision. We go back to the winding up of debate. Honourable Member for Shangom.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the seconder of the motion, the Honourable Minister of Transport and Logistics, and all the members of Parliament who are present here for the support on the motion. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
So now we make the decision. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next motion, the Honourable Member for Mwenilonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on 17th April 2026.
Is the motion seconded?
Duly seconded by the Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Seconded by the Honourable Member for Kamfinsa. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Mwinilonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, like many African countries, Zambia faces a significant housing deficit driven by rapid population growth, urbanization, and limited access to affordable finance. This situation has been worsened by fragmented laws, financing constraints, and outdated policies which hinder progress. The National Housing Policy 2020 to 2024, whose lifespan has expired, highlights that the national deficit of housing units stands at 1.5 million, of which 40% is urban and 60% is in rural areas. The policy further projects that the housing gap is expected to reach 3 million by the year 2030. Madam Speaker, to mitigate the housing deficit, the policy sets the target of 222,000 conventional housing units to be built annually until 2030 in order to bridge the existing gap. Madam, this is in line with the 8th National Development Plan 2022-2026 pillar on the human and social development under Strategy 4, whose objective is to increase access to decent and affordable housing for all. Using this strategy, the government is expected to facilitate the provision of affordable housing finance, provide incentives for private sector participation, and promote investments in research on alternative building materials and technologies. Madam Speaker, the committee notes that while the legal and policy framework is largely adequate, weak implementation, underfunding, and poor institutional coordination has continued to undermine its effectiveness. Additionally, the committee notes that high construction costs, limited serviced land, and expensive mortgage financing continue to restrict housing supply and affordability. Madam Speaker, the committee is therefore of the view that government should upscale alternative efforts such as public-private partnerships, informal settlement upgrading, and civil servant housing schemes in order to improve the housing situation. Furthermore, the committee is of the view that the government should bring on board the non-state actors as they play a critical complementary role, especially in financing innovation and coming up with community-based housing solutions. This is due to the fact that addressing the crisis requires a stronger funding, legal reforms, improved coordination, and increased private sector participation. The committee is therefore confident that the executive will give due consideration to recommendations in addressing the identified housing challenges in the report. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank your office and that of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the support rendered to the committee throughout this session. With these remarks, I urge all members to support the report of the committee Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, once again, I want to thank you most sincerely for the opportunity to second the proposal for us to adopt this report, which has been ably moved by the Honourable Member for Mwinilunga. Madam Speaker, the report is very clear, first of all, on defining the problem. The problem is that we have a housing deficit. The report that has been submitted already is also very clear on the role of different state actors. We did interact with the National Housing Authority. We interacted with the Zambia National Building Society, as well as NAPSA, on looking for opportunities to ensure that we find a solution to this problem of housing. And I think that as a committee, we were very categorical on these state institutions playing a bigger role, a more important role in mobilizing resources, and also ensuring that housing finance, Madam Speaker, is affordable. What is the use of offering a mortgage when our people can't afford a mortgage? So we did interact with these key stakeholders, and we are hopeful that the recommendations that we have made will not only allow these state actors to play their part, but also, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the right environment is created for the private sector. I think we had 2 or 3 witnesses who are private sector-led that are able to mobilize resources. We have a project here in Lusaka where a housing project is being provided to those that have got funding to be able to own housing. And I think that everything that has been presented by the chairperson of the committee through Honorable Samakai, I think is adequate for today's interaction. So, Madam Speaker, the people of Kamfinsa do second the proposal that has been moved. I thank you.
Thank you very much, very efficient. The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Firstly, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to respond to the report of your Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, I agree with the committee that Zambia's housing deficit is currently estimated at over 1.5 million houses and is expected to surpass 3 million houses by 2030 if no meaningful development is implemented in the sector. For many years, Zambia has faced a significant housing deficit driven by rapid urbanization, population growth, and the rising cost of land and construction materials. However, under the leadership of our President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, government has demonstrated strong resolve in addressing the challenges through deliberate policy direction and strategic interventions. The ministry, as my ministry, therefore, implementing various strategies targeted at 1, expanding the availability of affordable housing across all income segments, 2, promoting inclusive, well-planned and sustainable urban development, 3, enhancing access to innovative housing finance solutions that make home ownership more attainable for our citizens, 4, engaging with utility companies to provide bulk infrastructure, that is water, electricity, sanitation, and roads, and 5, encouraging efficiency in building materials, supply chains, and construction processes. Madam Speaker, government plans to increase access to affordable housing for all as per the 8th National Development Plan. It is for this reason that we embarked on reform programs in the sector to increase access to affordable housing. We reviewed the Public-Private Partnership Act so that more private sector players can participate in the delivery of affordable housing in the country. Through the PPP model of financing, for example, the Lusaka Mount Facility Economic Zone housing project targets to develop 10,000 housing units nationwide, with 2,000 units under phase 1. The project has undergone rigorous appraisal by the Ministry of Finance and National Planning and has been confirmed as financially and economically viable. Consequently, it is earmarked for inclusion in the 2027 Public Investment Plan. Under the project, the government will provide service land, while the private sector mobilizes financing for the construction. I must add here that this program involves National Housing Authority, which is a government authority in partnership with the private sector player. Further, government is implementing measures to lower construction and housing costs so as to develop mass housing and response to provision of mass and affordable housing. Just this morning, Madam Speaker, I, representing government, launched a factory to manufacture prefabricated concrete panels for the construction of housing and other buildings. This is a deliberate and practical step towards addressing the growing housing demand in the country arising from our expanding population and increased urbanization. We are indeed adopting modern, efficient, and scalable technology in housing construction. Madam Speaker, I urge members of this House, when they get time, to visit this factory to see what is being manufactured and how they can engage using CDF in certain aspects to build adequate, affordable housing in their constituencies. The government, through my ministry, has commenced a program to develop various urban centers and multi-facility economic zones across the country in locations identified by the ministries responsible for agriculture, trade, and manufacturing, mining, tourism, livestock, and fisheries, with a view to promote coordinated urban development in locations that have potential to contribute to economic development, social inclusivity, and quality of life. Examples is where you have mining developing, such as in Mumbwa. We plan it such that we develop centers that will have adequate housing. In Chilawombwe, where we are going to have maybe 800,000 mining operations. Again, we develop it to a modern state. With Kapirimposhi, which is going to be an urban center for logistics. Again, that must be properly planned, and we are doing that. It is envisaged that the urban centers and multi-facility economic zones will be developed each with a minimum of 10,000 housing units around new and existing mines, agriculture, tourism, and the logistics nodes, thereby promoting sustainable human settlements. Madam Speaker, the ministry has embarked on the construction of social houses for the vulnerable under the Social Cash Transfer Register. In an effort to address housing financing challenges, government, through my ministry and in collaboration with the Bank of Zambia, is in the process of establishing a housing finance or indeed mortgage refinancing company. Currently, a joint technical team has been established and has since finalized the conceptual governance and business framework for establishing a housing finance entity or mortgage refinancing company. Furthermore, government has ratified the statutes establishing the Shelter Afrique Development Bank. This will expand access to housing finance for both public and private sector players, with several Zambian institutions already in advanced engagements with this bank to secure housing finance. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development is collaborating with the Zambia National Building Society to implement the Bondi Yanga initiative. The Bondi Yanga initiative, supported by its outreach platforms, such as TV series and social media engagements, is a deliberate effort to educate, inspire, and empower citizens. It seeks to guide Zambians on how to access service land and affordable housing solutions, while at the same time promoting a deeper understanding of housing finance and financial inclusion. Through this initiative, we are encouraging our people to transition from informal settlements and embrace planned, structured, and sustainable communities that offer dignity, security, and opportunity. Ultimately, Bond Younger is about transforming mindsets, expanding access, and improving the quality of life of our citizens across the country. Madam Speaker, my ministry, in collaboration with the Zambia National Building Society, undertook the Housing Economic Value Chain study. The study established that Zambia housing demand generates material orders exceeding 25 billion kwacha per annum, of which approximately 14.8 billion kwacha is supplied by domestic firms. In terms of employment, the sector accounted for 264,000 jobs as of 2024. The study also revealed that housing construction contributes about 4% to Zambia's GDP and approximately 40% of the total construction across fixed capital formation, making it the largest subsector within the construction industry. These findings underscore the strategic importance of housing development as a key driver of economic growth and national development. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I affirm that housing deficit is a real problem, and this government is tackling it. I wish to state once again that I have taken note of the observations and recommendations made by the committee, although I do not agree with the establishment of a standalone ministry for housing. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I support the adoption of the report by the House. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Minilonga, winding up debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to thank the Vice Chair, the seconder of the motion, Mr. Honourable Christopher, what is his name? Kangombe. Sorry about that. I also wish to thank the Honourable Minister for the response given. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Time to make a decision. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th of April, 2026. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House now adjourns.
The question is that the House now adjourns. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House? Is now adjourned.
Parliament closer to you. The House has just adjourned, and we do expect more live parliamentary business on the floor of the House at 09 hours tomorrow.
And just now we take a look at business that has been considered from the time business commenced at about 14:30 hours. Madam Speaker did make some announcements. And in the announcements, one of the announcements, Madam Speaker informed the House that the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the National Assembly Powers and Privileges and Immunities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2026, and the Parliamentary Code of Conduct Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2026, will conduct its sittings on Friday 24th, Monday 27th, Tuesday 28th to Wednesday 29th April 2026. Madam Speaker, in her announcement, encouraged all honourable members who wish to submit memoranda or appear before the committees to do so within the scheduled period of the committee's sittings.
And just before that announcement, there were two announcements that Madam Speaker made. This was basically to indeed welcome some visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia. In the first announcement, she did recognize the presence in the Speaker's gallery of 7 members of Parliament and 2 members of staff from the Parliament of Kenya, who were accompanied by 2 staff from the Kenya High Commission. She, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, welcomed the distinguished guests. Then the second announcement, where she recognized the presence in the public gallery of some visitors, Madam Speaker did recognize the presence of members from Citizens for Democratic Governance in Lusaka District. Like always, Madam Speaker welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
Yes, indeed. And after those announcements, urgent matters without notice were taken note, were considered on the floor of the House.
And these matters indeed came from Chama North, Member of Parliament. This matter was directed at the Minister of Agriculture. Basically, he was raising a matter on the lifting of the lifting of the ban on maize, and it was inadmissible. But however, Madam Speaker did guide the Member of Parliament to actually file in a question. And then the second matter was from Lundazi Member of Parliament, Ms. Brenda Nyirenda, directed at the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. And her matter was basically on projects not paid for, saying that money had not yet been released. And this matter too was inadmissible. Nakonde Member of Parliament also came up with a matter, and this one was on political parties that allegedly have started campaigning. So Madam Speaker also did not admit this matter, and so those were the 3 urgent matters without notice that were indeed raised on the floor of the House.
Yes, indeed. And thereafter, this afternoon, we did see the House consider 4 questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80, and these are questions of ordinary nature.
Yes, indeed. A number of responses were given by the ministers to whom those questions were directed. And later on, we also did have some grouped questions for oral answer, and then lastly, some motion. Maybe, Taza, we can look at some of the answers that were indeed provided on the floor of the House by the various ministers to whom those questions were directed.
Yes, indeed. So under questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80, we had question 324, which came from Mr. Kenny Siach Sumo, who is a Lufwanyama Member of Parliament. His question was directed to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. And in A, he wanted to know whether the government has any plans to upgrade Lufwanyama Police Station in Lufwanyama District to a Grade A police station. And the minister did respond that government has no immediate plans. And this is because the police post in Lufwanyama was recently upgraded to Class B. In B and C, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why? The minister did refer to the answer given at Part A. And in D, what criteria the government uses to upgrade a police station from one level to the next. Some of the reasons, the criteria the minister gave out, where they look at the crime levels, population of people, as well as staffing levels, among others. And in Part E, what factors contribute to a police station remaining at the same grade for an extended period. The minister did respond that this is due to low and stable crime levels.
Okay, and then just another question that was considered on the floor of the House this afternoon is question 321, a question that was posed by Namwala Member of Parliament, Mr. Herbert Mapani. And he basically wanted to find out from the Minister of Technology what the staff establishment for researchers at the National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research in Lusaka District was as of February 2026, what the number of researchers was as of February 2026, whether the government had any plans to employ additional researchers to enhance efficiency at the institute, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, he wanted to know why. So the response on the first part on where he wanted to find out the staff establishment at the National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research in Lusaka as of February 2026, the minister said the approved establishment was 53 positions. And then what the total number of researchers was as of February 2026, the minister did indicate that there were about 9 available researchers as of February 2026, saying that 4 were PhD holders and 5 were masters holders. And he also did indicate whether the government had any plans to employ additional researchers to enhance efficiency at the institute. The minister did indicate that yes, indeed, the government had many plans, saying that of course the government does appreciate the fact that adequate and qualified personnel are the backbone of research. So that is just part of the answer that the Honourable Minister did give in responding to this question that was posed by Namwala Member of Parliament, Mr. Mapani.
And so those are just some of the questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80 that the House did consider. We did mention that the House did consider 2 motions, and the first motion was moved by Mr. Muvika, who is Shangombo Member of Parliament and is the chairperson of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply. He did move a motion urging that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on enhancing road safety in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. This motion was seconded by Mr. Joel Chirie, who is a Rona Member of Parliament. And when a question was put, this motion was resolved, meaning the motion has been adopted.
Okay, and the last business that took place on the floor of the House was consideration of yet another motion. This motion was basically to adopt the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs, and it was moved by Mr. Newton Samakai that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the housing situation in Zambia for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th April 2026. Likewise, after so much debate, a question was put, and the House agreed to actually adopt this motion, this report. So the report of this committee has been adopted by the House, and that marks the end of business in the House today. And we do hope that you enjoyed watching Parliament TV as we broadcast the different business that we had for the day in the committees. Earlier on, other programming that we have at Parliament, and of course from 14:30 hours, the business on the floor of the House. So Taza, it's been a lovely afternoon, short but lovely.
Yes, indeed, it's been a lovely afternoon, and so on behalf of the entire production crew, we wish you enjoy the rest of the day. It's bye for now.
Parliament TV, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Her Honor, the Vice President's question time.
Questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 76.
A matter to be admitted, it has to be of recent occurrence.
Continue watching Parliament TV, the channel